Hey Jeff, how are you?
I'm well. I was telling people before I'm in the car because it's raining and I'm staying with friends in Connecticut and their son has a violin lesson. And I would not want my violin lesson recorded and broadcast on YouTube. So I'm giving him privacy and recording from the car.
Sounds good. I'm sure people have found funnier places to podcast.
It's where we are now. So let's start by introducing yourself and tell us where you are and or who you are first.
Sure. So I'm Noah. I'm a part of a two-person distillery. We have a distillery here in Westchester, New York, just outside the city, and we're making spirits from New York State fruit. So
Can you tell us how you got, what's your role there, and then how you got to that business and career wise?
sure. So my partner Yoni and I are social distancing as much as possible right now, so you're here with me to broadcast. But we started the distillery, probably working on this project about 10 years ago. It took us several years to kind of finalize our recipes and work with other distillers to get to a place where we were comfortable going all in. And then we worked with a group that we started called the Food Cycle to start a brewery, distillery, and a farm up in Kent, Connecticut. So we're midway between the farm and New York State, or New York City. And yeah, so Yoni and I we grew up together. We had a passion for food, you know, all things culinary. So we decided that this would be an interesting pursuit to explore what New York has to offer.
So did you build the distillery yourselves, or are you sharing a space, or it's your own separate thing?
We actually did build the distillery in 2013, 14 to our specifications. So as we get through the tour, we can have a walk around, and I'll show you what we got. But yeah, we built it. We did a 500-liter pot still from Germany. Holstein is the manufacturer. It's a 6-plate hybrid pot and column, so we can do pot style distillations, such as for our whiskey. We have a column with 6 plates that's adjustable, so we can use one plate for something like eau de vie, a water bath if we want to do that, or we can use all 6 plates if we want to make something a little bit more refined. And this still also has a gin basket or botanical basket for making.
Now, this is showing my ignorance about distilling. Can you use the same still for different spirits? You have to have, they're all separate.
So yeah, so we can use one still, and basically we divert the flow of things. So when we go up there, I can go now, or we can go in a little.
I want to get a few more things explained, and it may take me 2 times to hear it to make sense. And then when you've kind of explained the process, maybe then show around, it'll make more sense to people. So what's the benefit or the difficulty, or as a consumer, why is it interesting that you're in Westchester?
So Westchester is kind of like a happy medium between being up in the mountains or in the Hudson Valley and city. So we're kind of like at a really nice intersection where we can get all of the great things that New York State has to offer without being in the city. So
I see. And so what all fruits and vegetables and grains and stuff do you need to source? And is that coming from New York State or Connecticut or the area?
So everything we use is from New York State at this point. So we get grain from the Finger Lakes, cider from the Hudson Valley, and pears from more like Niagara County area, so up near Buffalo, cherries from further north, and we're sourcing everything, yeah, from within the state.
And is it vastly different to make whiskey than to make gin? Like what was the learning curve like on that?
Right. So so originally we were producing everything from scratch within the distillery. So for grains and whiskey, we're milling the grain, we're fermenting on the grain, and then distilling on the grain. So you know, it's pretty much same thing as making it in a little pot as making it in a big pot. It's just
Right.
you just want to make sure you can stir it, you know.
And so my friend Bridget Fertile makes rum, and we were speaking to her, and years ago she showed me her still. And for me, what I understand, part of the artistry of making spirits is, or for her, you have a heads, hearts, and tails. Does that work with your products too?
Right. Yeah. So when you're distilling, think of you know, it's basically a stream, a constantly running stream, and the first
Right.
stuff to come out off the stream is the lighter stuff. And
Uh-huh.
the last stuff to come off the stream is the heavier stuff. So the lighter stuff are the heads. They're like the acetones and all the lighter kind of,
Mm-hmm.
they're smelling like components of the fermentation.
Right.
Uh, and then we want to separate those, and that's what gets cut in. The heads cut, the hearts cut is the good stuff, and it kind of falls exactly in between the heads and the tails. And then the tails is when the heavier compounds start to come out. They have unpleasant characteristics that you can pick
Yeah.
up.
And then you have to, this didn't make this, I would never have thought about this, but you have to dispose of the heads and the tails specifically. You can't just put it in the drain.
Right. We don't use them for cleaning or things like that.
Oh.
And a lot of it gets redistilled. So one of our spirits, for the base spirit of our gin, we were redistilling to make a neutral spirit out of our heads and tails, so that we can
I see.
recycle,
Okay.
recycle and try to waste as little stuff as possible.
Huh. It's fascinating to me because I'm so in the wine business, but I need to be more knowledgeable about this stuff. So it's really fascinating. Am I wrong that you have a little booth at the farmers market at 110th and Morningside Park?
No, absolutely. So we do a bunch of farmers markets. There are several people doing farmers markets around the city in addition to the Grow NYC. So we do the Morningside Heights Farmers Market. There's one in Park Slope by the old Stone House. And those are the two main ones that we do in the city. And then sometimes we're at Union Square or the Grand Army Market and a couple of the other
Okay.
markets when they have a booth available. They do a rotating pop-up of New York State suppliers.
Oh, right. And is that available on your website?
Uh,
Accessible through your link in your bio?
Usually it is. I just took the event calendar down just because we're
Yeah, sure.
not doing too many events. The event calendar there's still a section on our website for the events, and we'll post stuff on markets as we're doing them. The first one we're doing will be sometime in May.
Okay.
And I believe the first one we will do will be in Park Slope at the Stone House.
And you do sell to retail too. I'm sorry, what? I cut you off.
We will give it a go. I haven't really, not really sure how the farmers markets will go quite yet.
Yeah, there. As far as I know, the one up by me in Harlem is still going, and it was nice to see to see you guys there. So that was cool. So before you give us a tour, can you give us kind of a rundown of all your products? Because there is a range. It's for me, it was surprising how many things you do make.
Yeah. So we do. I'd say our core product is our gin. It's distilled from New York State apples for the base spirit. So all fruit for the base spirit, and then we use 11 botanicals. We do, another passion of ours is eau de vie. So we make several. We do a cherry from Monterey cherries. We do a pear from Bartlett pears. Both of those are whole fermented fruit. And then we do one from apples. So that's from cider. So it's a little lighter, but really nice apple character, fresh cut apples. And then we've aged the apple. We do a bourbon from corn, wheat, and barley. And we just actually released some of that. So that will be coming to retail soon. And we'll also be doing a curbside pickup here at the distillery.
Oh, wow.
That's actually available on the website right now.
Okay.
And then we have an apple aperitif, which we make in the style of Pommeau.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that one's really fun. It's a blend of brandy that we've aged in house, and then blend it with heirloom varietal cider. So like nice.
And sorry, the last part.
It's a little stronger than it's a little stronger than Pommeau in alcohol content, but has really nice like tannins from the apples, and just a really lovely.
Right. And I always have to remind myself that when you look at pricing on a liquor like that, it lasts a long time because you have like 10 to 15 drinks in one bottle. So people need to think about it as a product that's going to last around for a little while. It's not just to drink over the next day or two.
Right. You know, all these are shelf stable indefinitely. I mean, the Pommeau, I would say keep it in the aperitif. I'd say keep it in the fridge.
Sure. Okay. Okay. Do you want to say anything before you show us around?
No. Let's give a tour, and then you can ask questions as we go.
Yeah, and if people have questions, there's that little question box in the bottom, and I won't lose them because the scrolling thing gets a little bit much.
I'm going to rely on you to call out the questions, all right, Jeff?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, cool. So let's see. Let's turn this camera around. So we can end the tour looking at the barrels, but these are barrels containing apple brandy, bourbon, grape brandy. I forgot to mention we make grape brandy that's not available yet, and Pommeau.
Wow. And how long do they need to stay in those barrels?
So different things age for different amounts of time. The grape brandy has been in there for almost 4 years now. So we'll start over here. We've got the fermentation area. So we have the back 3 tanks are 1,000 liter fermenters, and then the closer tanks are is a mash tun, so basically for cooking whiskey. With the copper pipe coming out of the bottom, that's the mash tun, so that we can cook grains or heat up cider or whatever we need to do to change the temperature. And we have 2 more 2,000 liter tanks on the left there. So everything gets fermented in those tanks and then pumped. So this is our mash inlet, let's say. So it gets pumped in, and then this comes into the still. So drops into the still, and then I'll take a step back. I could actually turn this around so that we can have a look.
Oh, wow. So cool.
Yeah. So let's get this, just prop this up here. So this is our still. It's a 500 liter. So this is the pot right here. Behind me, this is the column. So we have 6 plates. Top one, this plate right here is it's the deflegmator or water bath. So that allows us to charge the actual column, which I can go into more detail, but I think let's get through the basics. So
yeah.
And as you can see, Jeff, here, this line right here runs into this valve here. So I can send it up, and that means it's going to skip the column, or I can send it down, and then it'll pass through the column. So I'm either doing a pot-style distillation by sending it up, or I'm going to do something a little more involved, a little more refined by sending it through the column or sending it down. I can also send it through the gin basket, which is this basket right here. So it's this stainless steel piece right here. That's our gin basket. So it has plates. There's a picture on our Instagram profile of like us pouring botanicals into one of these plates, which is basically like a flat bottom colander, so like a pasta strainer. And there's 2 of them. They have all the botanicals, and as the vapors from the pot start to heat up, they pass through this basket and extract all the flavor.
Wow.
So for our gin, that's where we keep, orange, lemon, grapefruit peels, juniper, coriander, star anise, cardamom, angelica oil, cinnamon, and elderflower. And we really only use that piece for the gin. And then on the left side, you'll see there's a stainless steel column. I think I could point to it right here. But that condenses all of the vapors back into a liquid. So you're basically boiling the liquid and bringing it back down from a gas to a liquid. That's the basics of distillation. It
still seems kind of like magic to me, so I can see back in the old days why it seemed like that. Can you either with the camera or pointing like you're doing, and maybe even consider the tanks in the back you showed us before. Walk us through what, from an apple to a bottle of gin, what happens.
Okay, yeah. So just to be clear, for the base spirit, we're actually having that made for us upstate at this point.
Okay.
We make it all in-house, but when we did make it in-house, we would start with the cider. So cider would come in.
Okay.
So the cider would come in we get it shipped to us in these totes, something like
right.
and then, so that'd be filled with cider. We get several of them delivered on a truck. Truck comes in, we pump it into, it's hard to get far enough back to
That's fine.
Full picture, but this tank here is is what we call the reaction tank or the mash tun, and it holds all of the cider that we're heating up. So it comes in cold because it was pressed for us offsite. So all these valves, like over here, those are steam valve. So we can turn on the steam. We can agitate what's in there. So agitate just means stir. So we can stir the liquid, warm it up to appropriate temperature, and then it gets pumped out the bottom here.
But that is temperature controlled, right? You can control the temperature?
Absolutely. So right here, we have our control panel. So, we have an ethanol detector. We have all the switches for all of our pumps there. And then we have, each of those lights that are on indicate the temperature, the current temperature of the tanks. And the switches are to allow us to stir the tanks if we want to mix what's in the tank.
Cool.
So everything is temperature controlled. And that way we can maintain the aromatics of the cider to the best of our ability. That cider comes in, we warm it up, and then we pump it out the bottom here. You can see we have this kind of massive pump behind the ladder there that moves the cider into one of these fermenters. So let's see, this would be a 2,000 liter fermenter right here. So that would, that's where we pump it. We introduce a white wine yeast that we've selected. That's really good to enhance the aromatics of the fruit, really showcase the apple. And then it stays there till it's completely fermented. We use the same pump right there. And we're back to where we started. So we bring it back up to this this line right here that drops it into the still.
Okay.
So then once we have the cider that's fermented, it's, so let's say it's 7% alcohol. We pump it into this pot here. So this, we're doing, on the first distillation, we're doing a pot distillation. So it's going to go into the pot, and then we do what's called stripping. So we strip the cider down to, a 20 or 30% solution, and then everything else gets left behind. So we collect that into like one of these totes here, and it hangs out until we're ready to do a second distillation. So then that gets pumped back into this pot, but now we're using this column. So so we pump what are called low wines, which is this, let's say it's the 30% alcohol, into the pot, and it runs through the column, and then we're bringing it up to between 80 and 85%. And that's where we're making our heads, hearts, and tails cut. And you can see we have 3 tanks on the bottom here, which allow us to separate the heads, hearts, and tails.
Awesome. Okay. So my friend Jamie asked, but you already answered this. I think you just missed it, that the cider comes just as juice and then you ferment it.
That's correct. So we're getting unfermented cider. Yeah. And then we take the unfermented cider, we add the yeast, and ferment it here.
And the same basic process when you take a mash, which is warm grains and water, you ferment that similarly then?
Yeah, so for a whiskey mash, I don't have it up right now, but we have like something to move the grain into that reaction tank or mash. So yeah, so we start, there's a little bit more involved process because we have to cook the mash, but it's essentially, the cooking part is, we're heating it up to allow the enzymes in the barley, for example, to be at the right temperature to burn sugars. That's
And
the only.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's the only major difference.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
for me, that's unusual to make gin out of apples. Is that rare, or is that not that rare?
Right. I'd say that's fairly uncommon. So basically gin is is a spirit flavor with juniper,
Mm-hmm.
and there's nothing that regulates the base spirit, or ingredients to make a base spirit for that. So, New York has a ton of apples, and we felt like it would be, an accurate representation of what we have here to work with the apples.
I mean, totally. I mean, I remember I loved it when we tasted it. So what do you think is the best way to drink it, in a martini, and if so, with vermouth, or what's the best cocktail you recommend?
For martini, I'm really into like a 50-50 martini with a blanc vermouth, or a 2-to-1. The way we generally recommend is a 2-part gin, 1-part vermouth, with a twist. Well stirred, so you get a nice cold martini. Other ways that we like to drink it are, Tom Collins is really great.
Okay.
I think especially with the season turning, I think it'll be really nice, warm weather cocktail.
Since you mentioned that, why do you stir gin instead of shaking it?
Well, actually, it's not gin that you stir. It's a cocktail with that doesn't have citrus. You stir. They say you can bruise the alcohol. So you want to just kind of be more gentle with an alcohol with a cocktail, if you don't have any citrus in it. I'd say.
I see. Okay,
right.
Thank you for that.
So,
and then, since my friend is in England right now asking this question, where are you available in general, your products?
In general, we're available in New York. We launched California right when Corona came into play, so we're still getting our feet settled over there. We're available in Japan. Is the only country.
You're what?
Available in Japan.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. And some really cool places out there as well. We're not in Europe or the UK at this point, but maybe once things settle down, we'll be able to get some booze out to people out there. And
so we were working about getting something in at Waverly Inn when all this went down. So you are in restaurants in the city also.
Yes. So we're. Yeah.
Okay.
We're in New York, readily available. Plenty of retailers. If you are looking for it, just message us here or on our website, info@Neversink, and we'll help you find it.
This same friend is asking, have you ever made apple cider brandy, or would you consider that, or making other things with the cider since you get it?
Have I ever made what?
Apple cider brandy.
Well, I guess is that Jamie that's asking that question? Jamie,
yeah.
If you want to clarify, we make brandy from cider, so we're making an apple eau de vie from cider. So
there we go. So you are okay.
And then we also make an apple aperitif, which is really similar to Pommeau, and it's a blend of cider and brandy. So maybe between the two of those, we
there you go.
Cover that.
So Jamie, when you get back and we're back at Waverly, we'll get some of that eau de vie, the apple, and we'll toast each other.
Awesome.
Well, we're getting at the point where I want to let you go because you've been kind to show us around. Do you want to tell any people, did I miss any obvious questions or do you want to say anything to people?
Just that we just released this bourbon. It's available here at the distillery, and starting next Thursday, we'll be open for curbside pickup, and we're taking all of our orders online. And we look forward to a moment in time where we can be back in restaurants and doing what we love to do and hanging out with our best friends. And until then, we wish everyone the best of luck, and I look forward to you.
Awesome. But just to clarify, so people can go to your website in your profile and order and have it shipped to them.
Absolutely. Link in the bio is right to our shop, and the shop's on our website, so there's more information there than you probably want. So just take
Awesome. I'll let you go then. It's really good to see you.
You
Thanks
too.
for all the info and the education, and take care of yourself. Be safe.
Thank you. Thanks for doing this, Jeff.
Take care, man. Bye-bye.